Hey everyone, welcome to the Libertarian Leadership Academy podcast. Today we have a special guest coming from Texas running for U.S. Senate. And this gentleman, Ted Brown, has ran for office. This is 19th time. Is that right, Ted?
Amazingly enough, the 19th time. Yes, I'm probably one of the champions of running for office as a libertarian, starting way back in 1980 for the California State Assembly when I was only 20 years old. And the reason being that I keep running is that it's very important for us to have libertarian candidates in as many positions as we can. Because I learned early on that the average voter is not all that interested in politics, or the average person really. And so sometimes every 2 years in the fall, they realize they have to look into some political campaigns because they know they're going to have to vote for some high offices. And if we don't have any candidates at that point to present libertarian ideas and that we're even there, they're never going to know that we're there. So that's why it's important for me to run, because I'm not going to ask anybody else to do what I'm not willing to do. And I've been recruiting candidates for the last 30 some years too, because I want to make sure that there are libertarians running for as many offices as possible.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to pause you right there because you've ran for office 19 times.
Yes.
Like, how many thousands or 10,000s or 100,000s or millions of people has your message come across where maybe they didn't vote for you, maybe they didn't donate, maybe they didn't volunteer, but they saw your message because you ran?
Exactly. That's what I hope they have. That's the point of getting out there. And I know they might hesitate to vote for a libertarian for for U.S. Senator, for example, or for president or for governor or any of those offices.
Yeah.
But they hear the message and they'll vote for somebody for Texas Agriculture Commissioner or the state legislature or something like that.
Ted, if there were 1,000 of you that started back in 1980, what you're telling me, right? If there was 1,000 of Ted Browns in 1980 running for offices as libertarians, the ideas that we're talking about would be more pronounced. Like, I came on board to the Libertarian Party or learned about it right in 2007 with a libertarian candidate running for office. So but what if I learned about it before then? Or what if more people heard about it?
Right, exactly.
What you have done is amazing, and I thank you for that. And I'm
excited
to continue talking about it. So in 1980, what got you started? Where was it? Or what idea or what reason, for running for office in 1980?
Well, I was a new member back then. I've been a member since I was a freshman in college. I've been a member since 1979, almost 47 years as an LP member, which is amazingly enough because the party's been around for 55 years or so. So, no, and after I learned about the party when I was 18, I joined right up as a student member, got a student group started at my college and everything. And when I moved out to California, at that point, they were having the ballot drive to get on the ballot, and I volunteered to help register. We had to register 75,000 people as libertarians, in a 3-month period. And we learned on New Year's Eve, 1979, that we got ballot status in California, where they still have it, still have permanent ballot status, and they were looking for candidates. And I think that I was one of 100 candidates that was recruited first right out of the gate to run for office, and I was hooked. I enjoyed doing it. I like talking to people about liberty, and I never look back. I figure, I'm not going to do. If somebody else would do it, they're welcome to. But usually, in my district or whatever, I was the guy that was available to do it.
Sure. So you're saying there was 100 candidates running in California in 1980 or 79 and 80?
Yeah, and other times too. In 2000, I think we had that many as well, because I was the candidate recruitment official there. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what is it now versus then, and what should we be doing now that was taking place then, right? Because obviously something was happening if you had 100 candidates running in California, and now there's only a handful.
Well, I should talk about Texas now, because that's where I live now. But in California, the problem was they imposed this top 2 system for elections, where all the candidates from all the parties would run in the primary, and the top 2, no matter which parties they were in, even if they were in the same party, would go on to the general election. And that pretty much eliminated libertarians from the general election outside of the presidential race, which was separate.
Yeah, but there's never okay. So, but you were talking about 100 candidates running in 1980, right?
Yes.
1979, 1980, and then the top two structure didn't come in until the late, 2000s.
2012 election, 2012.
Yeah,
So
2012.
for those
yeah.
32
so
years.
what? But there wasn't a ton of libertarian candidates before. Like what you're talking about is 100 candidates running.
Right.
Right.
So between
Was there 100 candidates running? 1982, 1983, 1984,
It varied.
1985. Okay.
It varied, but between 1980 and 2010 elections, those 30 years, we had many candidates on the ballot in every election and maintained ballot status by getting enough votes in statewide office. And I did
Gotcha.
quite well percentage, votes and percentage, like running for insurance commissioner there in 1990 and 94, for example. Because I'm in the
that's
insurance
awesome.
business. Yeah, I'm in the insurance industry, but
Yeah.
now in Texas, though, we're having a similar problem that California did. Texas has had as many, I think I've heard, like 168 candidates at one time, that many, and now we're down to about 18 this year because the state legislature here in Texas decided they don't like libertarians honing in on their territory, and so they imposed very large filing fees on us to run for office, which never had existed before 2020. So we're having fewer and fewer candidates here. So we have a record low number of candidates in Texas this year. And I'm happy to be able to be one of the top, candidates on the ticket. Me, along with Pat Dixon, who's running for governor, and he's the
I know Pat. He's great,
real legend in the Texas Libertarian Party. And these are actually the two biggest offices in the country that have libertarian candidates, if you count number of voters in the country. And so it's terrible that Texans don't have more options in this election, just like how Californians, because the top two, lost their ability to vote for a lot of libertarians. Texans now, starting with the last couple of election cycles, have been losing their ability to vote for libertarians. And here in Texas, there used to be, like I said, like between over 100 candidates each time.
Well, I thought
it was really easy to run. Yeah.
Ted, I thought our Republican government believed in democracy. I think we just captured, and when I say us, I mean the U.S. government and special agents under Trump, captured a president of a foreign nation, right, in the middle of the night. So as a U.S. Senate candidate, as a U.S. senator, you would have, some influence on this. So can you talk about this situation going on with Venezuela?
Yes, I've been interested in foreign policy for a long time, and a lot of people don't necessarily want to talk about it. They want to talk about taxes or whatever, and of course, I'm glad to talk about those as well. But when it comes to Venezuela, a few weeks ago, or maybe going back to like September, when these fishing boats or whatever's on these boats were bombed in the Caribbean, and then also some on west of Mexico. It was very questionable whether these were who was on these boats. These boats were being blown up with people on them. Were these drugs or not? Who were these people? Where were these boats going? No, that was never explained to the American people. And here, the U.S. military, under the direction of Donald Trump, just started blowing people up and committing first-degree murder out there in the Caribbean. This was right off the coast of South America, nowhere near the U.S. And as far as we know, we have no idea if those boats have drugs, where they were going, who was on them. They never presented the names of who were on them. And right there, I started objecting to this operation that should not have occurred. And then to top it all
off. Why,
though?
Why?
Oh, because I don't believe in just the U.S. going out and blowing people to smithereens in international waters. I mean, that's
committing murder.
That's like a given. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay, someone could have drugs in their vehicle, right?
Sure.
So what we're going to do is we're going to blow up their vehicle because they could have drugs.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And now it wasn't even the
Let me finish real quick. So they could have drugs in their vehicle, on American streets. So the government is going to come blow them up.
Crazy.
But it's not just that. When we invaded Iraq, there's trucks or cars driving down the road, and the U.S. government is sending missiles down, drone strikes down, and hitting those vehicles and just saying, "Oh, they're terrorists. There were guns in those cars. There was drugs in those cars." Like, it's just crazy. You cannot do that in a free society.
No.
And it's going to cause blowback. And this blowback is going to be worse than Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya, because South America is right there. And it's going to be tough for us.
It is. It was crazy. But yeah, then the blockade of oil tankers, and then amazingly, I can't believe they planned for months just to go in there and kidnap the president. I mean, he's a terrible president, Maduro is, but that doesn't give us an excuse to go in there and into his country and take him into custody for alleged criminal offenses where they talk about how all these like immigrants in the U.S. they're not under U.S. jurisdiction, so their kids can't be citizens. That's what Trump is saying, which is ridiculous. But now they're putting Maduro under U.S. jurisdiction, and he's never even been to the U.S. except for visiting the UN a couple of times. So it's absolutely ludicrous to take this guy into custody and charge him with violations of U.S. law, and he's never been under our jurisdiction at all. He's a terrible president, but it's up to the Venezuelans to deal with that, not the Americans. I mean, if we were going to take out every terrible leader of the world, half the countries would be bereft of a leader there, pretty darn quickly, because most of the world is under terrible leadership. So we're just picking this guy because, sort of like in Iraq, you were mentioning Iraq, which is another war that I was against, and I'm sure you were against as well. That we shouldn't have been there. We shouldn't have been in Iraq. We shouldn't be in Venezuela. We shouldn't have been in Afghanistan. There's just so many countries we shouldn't have been in. I'm pretty much a non-interventionist across the board. I mean, my view is that should be the default position, is non-intervention. Well, right now, the default position in Washington is intervention. No matter what's going on in the world, the U.S. has to have an opinion, and in this case, more than an opinion, like taking aggressive action against people.
Let me offer this up, okay? And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
What if, instead of dropping bombs on these countries, we dropped like these little MP3 players that had like Bastiat's The Law? We just dropped those, and they could listen to books about freedom.
Yeah.
And there's like, shouldn't that, in countries that are quote unquote communist, shouldn't we be trying to help educate people on freedom? Like, I don't think the bombs and capturing their president and that's not going to educate them on anything. That's going to piss them off, right?
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, now it's funny, they've even given up the pretense. I remember George W. Bush was saying he wanted to bring democracy to Iraq.
Sure.
Back in those days, not that was ever going to happen, but now that's not even a pretense. Now it's just we're going to take their oil. And we don't even care who's in charge over there. It just can't be Maduro. And where is this coming from? I mean, that's absolutely crazy. As of today, I mean, Maduro's vice president is taking over, and I mean, she's another socialist dictator type, just like Maduro. And as long as she provides oil to Trump and his oil company billionaire buddies, apparently that'll be just fine. And meanwhile, the U.S. has already murdered those 115 people out on the boats, and now they murdered 80 more people in Venezuela to seize Maduro. So it's just getting worse and worse as we go along, and it's going to keep getting worse. I mean, whenever the U.S. tries to control other countries, it doesn't turn out well.
No. This is scary, man. This is scary. So thank you for running and talking about these things, because it seems like a lot of Republicans and Democrats, they're kind of quiet. They're no war with Venezuela, but you are talking about specific situations that people are going to deal with there in Venezuela and here in the United States. Like, you're pointing it out, whereas it seems like if it were the Democrats going into Venezuela, I feel that there would be some Republicans who would be for or against it, right? Who are now for it.
Right. Well,
does that make sense?
Well, foreign policy's become even more partisan than usual now under Trump, because it's like,
it's crazy.
No Democrat wants to be seen as supporting anything Trump does. But frankly, historically, Democrats and Republicans, one of the only times they've gotten together usually is when they're trying to bomb the hell out of brown people in foreign countries. I mean, for decades, they pretty much joined hands in that, if not on specifics. They certainly vote for military operations. They never defund them. They just keep them going. against all these countries. Both Democrats and Republicans alike are warmongers, with some notable exceptions, which I'm glad to see sometimes on both sides of the aisle, where there are some like principled anti-war senators and congressmen, but not very many. I'll tell you, not very many at all.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're running. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was your stance on, the overall war on drugs, but also the rescheduling of cannabis, right, from Section 1 to Section 3. Can you talk about that a little?
Well, starting with the war on drugs, the Trump administration has been using the war on drugs, which has been going on, for like 55 years, I think now, since President Nixon dishonestly announced it back in those days. And he's saying, it's okay to blow up those boats because there's fentanyl on them. Well, no, there wasn't, because Venezuela doesn't produce fentanyl. And then they said later, well, it's probably cocaine, but it's cocaine that's going to Europe. They haven't even proven that. So what business is any of this of ours? But he's using that drug war rhetoric is what I'm trying to get at, to rouse up the American people. Like, they're killing your kids. And then Trump comes up with these ridiculous mathematical figures. Each boat blown up saves 847,000 U.S. lives, or some totally insane figures, just to throw red meat to the public, saying, "Oh, he's saving us from drugs," but he's not saving us from drugs, and nothing from the coal or from the drug war is saving us from drugs. If anything, drugs have won. It's the key. If there's going to be a demand, there's going to be a supply from somewhere. And the terrible drugs that are killing Americans, a lot of it comes from Mexico. A lot of it's made right here in the good old USA. It's that made in America domestic industries. In fact, right here in Texas, there were some complaints last week that illegal marijuana grown in Oklahoma, just across the border to the north of us, they're having too much for their dispensaries. Even Oklahoma allows legal marijuana in some cases. It's flowing into North Texas. Well, hey, we should be happy it's made in America, I tell you. But
yeah. There's flowing in.
Oklahoma's attacking us with marijuana, So, but what you ask about the
scary thing is, does Texas get to call them narco terrorists now? Those people who are bringing cannabis in from Oklahoma into North Texas.
Does the Texas Greg government? Abbott, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, that's the dangerous territory that we're heading in, right?
It's ridiculous. They can call anybody a terrorist. Anybody they don't like could be a terrorist. They could call you and me a terrorist if they wanted to, because we disagree with the status quo. But recently Congress passed a hemp ban, like in one of those big omnibus bills they snuck in the middle of the night to ban hemp products. And Senator Rand Paul's the only one that caught it, and he tried to get it out of there. But 76 senators of both parties said, "Nah, we'll leave it in there." And so this is like a complete industry with millions of people in it, or either are in it or depend on it.
Yeah.
And they're going to be thrown out of business unless that's changed. They're trying to change it again, but again, they just blithely, without even thinking about it, are glad to ban anything they consider a drug. So then Trump says, well, why don't we reschedule cannabis? It's currently a Schedule 1 drug, which means no medical uses. Everybody knows it has medical uses. And then to Schedule 3, where it does have medical uses. But the only way to keep it from being illegal, which is what libertarians want, is to deschedule it. It shouldn't be on the list of controlled substances at all. And in that case, there should be no federal marijuana laws. Let the states deal with the issue, where we can oppose marijuana laws in all the states, but at least there should be no federal laws. And in the past, some states wouldn't pass reforms because of the federal ban, because they were afraid of running afoul of the federal government. So let's just deschedule it. In fact, Trump was making all those executive orders on the first day in office, and if it was a libertarian president, the executive order would have been remove cannabis from the list of controlled substances. Probably would have been the first one. That's really easy.
Yeah, absolutely. How many people are locked up in jail in federal prison right now still over cannabis possession?
Exactly.
Do you know how many?
I don't know. In fact, it's a lower percentage on cannabis than it is on other drugs, I think. But I think
so you look at guys like Peter McWilliams, who was he was a libertarian, right?
Yeah,
he was
Peter,
arrested, thrown in jail. because of cannabis possession.
Mm-hmm.
He's written a couple books, right?
Yeah, ain't nobody's business what you do. I think I still remember that one. That was a great title.
Yeah, ain't nobody's business what you do. I remember going to Hemp Fest in Seattle like 6 years ago, and the Peter McWilliams stage, So,
mm-hmm.
anyways, people have been thrown in cages over cannabis.
They have, and that's why that has to change. They have to be. Everybody should be. Anybody in jail now should certainly be released, and certainly a libertarian president and a libertarian governors as well would do that sort of thing. And not only that, the people that are previously convicted should have their sentences expunged also from the record. They shouldn't have felony or misdemeanor convictions on their record from that, so they can go about their lives. Because the war on drugs has harmed more people than the drugs. It seems.
But okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say someone on drugs hurts someone else to steal their drugs, or hurts someone else to steal their money, or damages someone else's property and steals it to get drugs, or is on drugs and damages someone's property. Mm-hmm. Like, what is your response to that?
Well, it's the same as if somebody's drinking alcohol and does those things. I mean, that's not justified at all. I mean, if anybody is committing other crimes where they violate the rights of other people, they need to be charged with crimes for that. I mean, and now some things are it's less likely if you're on using cannabis products versus alcohol that there'll be different offenses probably that are on your record. For example, if you're using cannabis, you're less likely to get into a brawl at a tavern or something, because you're going to be much more mellow than that, for example, or go out and drive and wreck someone. You're more likely just to stay home and enjoy yourself,
Yeah, hang out, listen to music.
Yeah.
So when I look at that, it's like, what if someone sober does that too? What if someone sober steals from someone else to get something, or assault someone, right?
Yeah. If you violate someone's rights, you've got to be called to account for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yep. So there's a lot of people that say that, libertarians are soft on crime, or they're just going to let everyone do anything they want to do. But freedom has its limits, or liberty technically has its limits by definition, right?
Well, what it does to the point of view is they have that old saying, my liberty, the length of my arm out to your nose, or something like that, where your nose starts, my liberty ends and yours begins. But it's probably more complicated than that. I mean, there's so many laws that are in effect that on offenses that the government say is illegal, but they're just offenses against the government. They're not offenses against other people. So the watchword for libertarians has always been, if there's been no victim, then there's been no crime. So actually, the LP posted today something about also letting all non-violent offenders out of prison, which isn't quite correct, because there are some offenders who are non-violent that are violating people's rights. Like people that commit fraud against old ladies or something, for example.
That could be considered violence.
Right. Yeah. The violence, non-violence isn't the cutoff. It's whether people's rights are being violated or not.
Yeah. So I haven't even looked up the definition of that. What is the definition of violence?
Well, it's funny as it is used sometimes when they're
is it just like physical, wounds, or is it wounds against one's property and you know what I mean? Because is burning someone's house down violence, even if no one's in there?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. But also on college campuses, they say that words are violence also, which is ridiculous.
No, so it looks like the definition, right? Oxford Languages: behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something.
Right, because you can violently, I think committing arson, for example, is pretty violent. Because
you're burning something down. Yeah, absolutely.
It has a threat of injuring people nearby as well, or the firefighters. I mean, that's a dangerous operation to burn somebody's building down.
Yeah, I hope you're okay with this conversation, because we need to have a conversation about what is actual violence, what is infringing on someone's rights.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're going into this weird territory, and you see it in the UK and the European Union and other countries where words are violence, and if you post something on social media, well, guess what? Well, now we're going to arrest you because you posted this meme. I'm like,
crazy.
What is real violence? Okay, is it, you know, physical harm? You know, there has to be direct correlation, and it's just getting scary. So
there does, but interestingly, we're talking about the criminal law, though. Obviously, it's ridiculous when these European countries are charging people with crimes and putting them in prison for their posts on social media. But you have to remember, you're not immune from civil liability or societal shunning of you if you are a real foul character that people don't like your posts. You don't have they don't have to associate with you, and they could sue you if you if you bring them into disrepute, or something like that. But that's different.
So the funny thing is, okay, we have these in our local Facebook groups, right? And people, and then I go to local events too, and I make it a point. Some of the most obnoxious people on Facebook in these Facebook groups that are just like promoting, we need to bomb Venezuela, or the opposite, where they're like, we just need universal health care and everyone needs to pay money and we need income tax. And I just go and, shake their hands, and it's just, it's hilarious because, and then I start talking to them about these issues, right? And we start, and it puts a name to a face, whereas most of these people don't even have conversations in real life. And it's crazy. They're just on Facebook or on, whatever social media account.
It is, and they're only following people that they agree with. So that's why there's like, they only watch a news network that they agree with, and see that's why there's like total different standards of reality on both the blue team and the red team these days. They don't even talk. They don't talk to anybody on the other side, it seems, and everybody's a demon on the other side that needs to be taken down, and government has to put them down or whatever. And here libertarians don't really agree with either of those sides, and here both sides beat up on us, it seems. If we express our opinion, say, hey, both a pox on both your houses. You're both trying to harm people and violate their rights. How about just leave people alone? And that's what people can't stand. They always want to say, well, my way of living is better, and I'm going to impose it on everybody else. Well, no, that's not what you're supposed to do in a free society. Live and let live. Let people do their thing as long as they're not harming anyone else, as long as they're peaceful. And that libertarian slogan that came up a few years ago, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff, which makes it pretty simple. I like that one because it's true. We're the ones that say that. Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. And then both sides, conservatives, liberals, Democrats, and Republicans, they all say, well, that's kind of radical. Well, no, it's not. That's what you learn it in kindergarten. Sheesh, and it works there. So that's like, there was that book years ago, Everything I Needed to Know, I learned in kindergarten. And, behavioral methods, yes, behavioral techniques about how to get along in society and have get along with people. That is a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing that I look at is voluntary government. Okay, so you have guidelines, right? So roads should be this wide, but we should not say who should build them.
Right.
But this is what, roads should be. And if you build your road a foot smaller than that, we still shouldn't be able to come in and then, take your road or take your house or impose a fine or tell you have to completely destroy it or,
just put a sign up. They can put a sign up saying this road does not comport to county road design guidelines. Travel at your own risk, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Same as with like drugs, like from the FDA. It can just be a feature of the drug, like an advertising. This has been approved by the FDA, like as a positive thing. But if it hasn't been, you can just say it's not, and you're at your own risk. Hey guys, warning, this has not been approved by the FDA.
Oh my God. Yes, anything that's been approved by the FDA, I'm like, oh, well, hang on, let's wait. If it's been approved by the FDA, like that is a warning sign for a lot of people.
It is, but I'm just saying, as long as there's truth in labeling, I do favor truth in labeling because in order to make a choice, you have to have an informed choice. And if people know
Yep.
exactly what they're dealing with, whether they want to look into it or not, they might not want to read the fine print. As long as the fine print's there and available to them, that's what's needed, because then they had the opportunity to do all the research and or to listen to others or look at reviews of those who have done the research, and then they can make their own decision based on that.
Yeah, awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So, Ted, where can people find you if they want to look you up, donate to your campaign, volunteer if they're in Texas or know people in Texas and are like, check out Ted Brown?
Mhm.
Where can you send them?
Well, it's best to go to tedbrown.org, which is my website, and there you can donate. You can also look at my positions on the issues. A lot of my favorite quotes from famous people throughout history. A few clips of some shows are up there that I've been on. This one will go up there too, I'm sure, once it's available. And that's probably the best thing. Follow me on Twitter or X at Ted Brown Liberty, and on Facebook at Ted Brown, Libertarian for U.S. Senator from Texas. So there's plenty of ways to find me there, and there's contact information in all those places about if you want to call me or send me an email or something like that. But yeah, contributions are welcome. It's pretty expensive to run for office in Texas. Last time I ran in 2024 for U.S. Senate, I had a record number of votes for a U.S. Senate candidate in Texas for the Libertarians, 267,000 votes, and hopefully we can do it again.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome, man. Like, you running for office 19 times, like, you are one of the OG libertarians. Like, I don't know any other libertarian candidates that have ran as many times as you have. So
yeah.
Thank you very
been
much.
some people that have run a lot of times. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like doing it. I'm always willing to do it wherever I'm needed most. There's a few candidates like old timers, like in California, Gail Lightfoot has run for office lots and lots of times there. She's an old stalwart libertarian who's now in her 80s. And there's folks up here in Texas.
I should talk with Gail. Yeah.
You should. There's a guy named Tom Oxford here in Texas who's running for Attorney General this year. He's run for the Supreme Court a number of times, and it was cited that cumulatively he's received 7 million votes as a libertarian candidate over the last 20 years. So
wow.
He's also somebody who's willing to put his name forward at every opportunity, for very legal offices, which are harder to find candidates for. So if libertarians are willing, we have people here in Texas that always want to run for judge. They're willing to do that, and but I urge people that the filing deadlines are going to be coming up in the upcoming months, mostly across the country. Yeah, run for Congress, run for the state legislature in your states. You'll be glad you did. Is all I can say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I hope everyone that watches these interviews shares them out there so we can get more support for libertarian candidates, because the idea behind running for office as a libertarian is to get these ideas out there: self-ownership, consent, and non-aggression.
Yes.
And how we can build a society that is free from oppression. So
absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Michael.
Yep. Thanks so much. Take care, Ted.